So, okay, sometimes when I come down here, I actually know what I'm going to talk about. And sometimes I don't have a clue. This one's going to be whatever. I'm not doing anything. The desk hasn't changed since the last video I made a week ago. So, I haven't been downstairs. I've been actually doing stuff. So I'm going to try to make every tangent that I go on a specific point to get to my destination. And I don't know how many tangents I'm going to go on because my brain doesn't, I didn't write it out. But I am old enough. I'm far too old for a lot of things right now. I'm old enough to see some similarities across generations. The same topic of conversation gets repeated for subsequent generations. And when I say generations, I don't mean specifically Gen X and millennials and blah, blah, blah. But when I was a kid in the 70s, in the early 70s, a very young kid, it was when what happened in the 70s is your dad's, if you're a 70s kid, your dad's old stereo system, which was usually a big cabinet, a wooden or fake wood cabinet with veneer on the front and some knobs in the middle and speakers on the sides. One cabinet does 4 legs and a turntable on top and a little bit of an amplifier, but not too much, not too crazy with the 7,000 little up and down sliders, and a radio. And you would go to that hi-fi, high fidelity. That's what hi-fi means, high fidelity, which is stereo, or stereophonics, like they tried to make it sound really important back in the day. High fidelity and stereophonics. And this thing would be like 6 feet long sometimes, and it would sometimes have a spot for your records and blah blah. But what those stereo systems would not do is blow out your walls if you cranked up the music. They weren't the huge stereos that subsequently came later. But it was you'd have your little get-together with your family and your friends, your little wine, a little whatever, and you have a little radio or the record player playing in the background. That's what that was for, 50s and 60s. You see them when you watch I Love Lucy. You see that thing in the corner somewhere. We had one. Most of the families in the early 70s had leftover ones from before. And then, but what invariably would happen is that I remember very, very young, there was a expose on the news, and there was a whole other tangent that I don't think I'll get around to because it'll just muddy the waters. Expose in the early 70s, your kids are going deaf. Your kids are not going to have their hearing when they're 30, because what would happen invariably is that these stereo systems you could buy, because it had a 1/4 inch jack, a set of headphones. And if you look back at the old movies with the people with the headphones on, they were massively huge headphones. They're like the noise canceling, but they weren't noise canceling. Trust me, because I know, because I used them when I was a kid. They didn't cancel the noise, but they were big because you had to put the speakers in them. And then you had the little twisted cable, like the phone cable, if you remember that, going back, and you plug it into the 1/4 inch jack, and you're listening to your LPs on your headphones. And that's a whole other tangent that I could talk about and I'll probably get to. So right after those stereo systems that people had the disposable income to buy for their house so they could listen to the records on a nice little machine, the component stereo systems started showing up in the late 60s and 70s. And so therefore you would just go buy a separate turntable, a separate amplifier, a separate radio, and cassette decks. And 8-track decks, but we won't go into that because that's a whole other tangent. 8-tracks, but cassette decks. And you'll be able to have these components, they call it the component stereo system, because you can buy one component at a time, which is fantastic. And that's when the amplifiers started going from just a volume and maybe a treble and a bass, 3 knobs, to 17. So you got the individual decibel for the various frequencies, so you could like put up the gain on whatever and turn down the gain on whatever, and then as they did in forget the movie, Dial It to 11. Paul Schaefer, Dial It to 11, and then you'd have the speakers like separate speakers too, and they'd be like 3 feet tall, and they could blow out the doors, they could blow out the walls, they could blow out the windows. They're big speakers, and they were connected to the stereo hyphonic component speakers, and you can have like surround speakers, like because they got front, back, whatever. This is where that leads to. This is the beginnings of that you have now for your movie theaters in your house. And then another expo. So that was like 10 years later, and also another expo. Oh, your kids are gonna go deaf because they're these big speakers and the components and the big huge amplifiers, and people would go out and find a 400 watts, 800 watts, 1200 watt amplifiers. Oh, look at the amplifier, and then the speakers had to match, and your floor would shake, your windows would shake, and blah blah blah. And some people started buying stereos like that because they wanted to hear the bass. They wanted to put their Kiss album or the Zeppelin album or whatever album. They wanted to crank it so hard that you're blowing out the entire neighborhood. And trust me, again, I lived through it. So, and then 10 years after that, you probably already know where this is going. For those of you who are my age, the Sony Walkman came out. The Sony Walkman. So you took that entire stereo system, the component stereo system that takes up a wall and whatever, and you reduce it the size of a little box. I will say something like, here's me using an RCX as a Sony Walkman. Now the first ones were bigger, and because they had the cassette tape, and then they had like an inch around it because they had all the motors and mechanisms and batteries and blah blah. And then your kids are gonna go deaf before they're 30 because they're walking around all day long with the Sony Walkman headsets on, and they're gonna go deaf. And then they started shrinking down the Sony Walkmans, and then about 10 or 15 years later after that, what happened? The iPod. Exactly the same expose. So I heard this 4 or 5 times in my life. That is every 10, 15 years, an expose about how deaf your people are going to be. Now, don't get me wrong. The experts were not 100% wrong on this, because there was some hearing issues because of your huge high fidelity, and then the components, and then the Sonys, and then the iPods, and then whatever, and now the earbuds. Wait for the expose. The earbuds. I mean, we're gonna have it, or it's already happened. I just don't care anymore, because it does affect the hearing. When you listen to loud music literally all the time, the little philia or whatever that stuff is in your ears that causes the vibrations that your nerves pick up to go back to your brain to tell you what the noise is, they get broken. I remember reading about this in health class and whatever, and even as the exposés talk about it. So they weren't wrong, by the way, but it wasn't the headphones, it wasn't the components, it wasn't the big speakers, it wasn't the Sony Walkman headset, it wasn't the iPod, the earpieces, and the earpieces. Those were not the problem that caused the hearing loss. It was the stupid people that would play it loud. Because I listen to music just as much as everybody else, and I love my music, but I don't blast it till my ears are ringing. So here's that was a tangent number 1 to lead into the story. The tangent number 2 is Sandy and I saw Journey twice in concert. The first time was years ago, I think before Josh. We saw them up at Casino Rama out by Barrie, and loved it. And again, Steve Perry wasn't there because Steve Perry wasn't touring with Journey at the time. It wasn't that long ago. This kid from Brazil was up there. Fantastic. Absolutely lovely show. Rama was not a place where you're going to get your ears blown out at all. And it was a fantastic concert. We had a fantastic time. We had a great dinner. We did a little bit of gambling. Not my favorite thing to do, but hey, first time I tried it, and paid for dinner, which is nice. But Journey, the 2-hour concert, was fantastic. Loved it. And so a bunch of years go by, and then, they're going to be at Hamilton Place. Or sorry, not Hamilton Place. Cops Coliseum. You first Ontario, screw yourselves. For Cops Coliseum, they're going to be playing at Cops Coliseum. Perfect. We got tickets. We're going to go. And opening, Loverboy, Pat Benatar, and I can't remember who else. Fantastic though, because it's stepping out straight back in the 80s. And so Pat Benatar was awesome. Loverboy was awesome. Journey comes out, and they had dialed it to 11, or maybe we're sitting under the speakers. I don't care. I'm 50 plus now, and it was just too loud. Hey, hey, you kids, get off my ears. Don't play the music too loud. And my ears are ringing, like literally ringing. And so Sandy and I are looking at each other. We love Journey. Like, honest to goodness, my playlist in my car is Journey and Supertramp. So we love Journey. It was just too loud. And the Ram experience was the top 5 concerts I've ever been to in my entire life, and this was becoming quickly the worst concert. Not because of the music, because it was just too loud. Too gosh, as Huey Lewis would have said in the first Back to the Future, for those of you who get this reference, you're just too loud, guys. You're just too loud. That's a whole other story. Those of you who caught the Huey Lewis reference from Back to the Future will get it. And so we left. We actually left. Pat Benatar wasn't too loud. Loverboy wasn't too loud. I can't remember the opening act, but also the 80s group wasn't too loud. But Journey was just too loud, and maybe it was just our seats, or maybe we're in where those reverberation, where all the sound waves come together, like in the Oval Office and whatever. So anyway, so we left, and we're walking across the top of Jackson Square because we left the cops, and we were just walking back to the parking lot. And Sandy's talking to me for the first 50 minutes. I couldn't really, my brain couldn't comprehend what she was saying because my ears were still ringing from how loud that concert was. It was about 50. I thought I might have to go to the hospital to get my hearing checked because it was so bad. Like 15, and again, it could be my age because I'm getting old. And hey, you kids, get off my grass. Turn that music down. I don't want to be that guy, but it was too loud. And so I had a problem with that. So I know that too loud of music is detrimental to your health. Now, again, it's not Journey's fault. It's just maybe my age and whatever. Maybe my ears are a little more sensitive now as they get older. But anyway, so this is going somewhere, by the way. So I wanted to bring all that stuff up to say that I've been through my life, all these decades, and I've heard similar things per generation when it comes to noise and music and blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to provis that by making those stories to go into this topic. And again, this is a topic that I've talked about before, but I do 100% realize it does set me off. This is one of these personal banes that I have. And again, I'm not going to shake my face against, shake my fist in the general direction of Denmark. Again, deep cut. Shake my fist in the general direction of Denmark. But every time it comes up, my hackles do get into a bunch. And this is because every couple generations, going back to Lugnet, so it's not as far back as the High Fidelity, going back to Lugnet and afterwards, somebody somewhere gets it into the britches that they have to be the military police for how we as fans must refer to our hobby. We must adhere to the strict rules that the Lego company has laid out for us, and we must adhere to that. And specifically, again, because I have it right here, and I've talked about it right here, because I know, and this is because again, I like to see a lot of sides of every situation. I know why the Lego company, let's raise it up. I know why the Lego company specifically a lot, even back pre-internet, because that's when I got this thing. Trademarks. And it says right here in this book, in this very book, from the Lego company, it says right here, I should have bookmarked the page. Always distinguish the trademarks in relation to other words in a sentence or when you're speaking. Trademarks of the Lego group must always be written in capital letters. Give your children Lego toys, not give your children Legos. Our trademarks must never be joined with other words, blah, blah, where is it? Always use the trademark as an uninflected adjective. And that's exactly the word that they used in this little Facebook post that I saw, is that Lego is an adjective. It's not a noun. It's like, this is not Lego. This is a plastic brick. So you're supposed to say, according to TLC, the Lego company, and you can sue me for that, this is a Lego brick. Instead of just, you can't say this is Lego. You can't say this is Legos. You can't say whatever else you want because the company has put out a brochure from the legal department saying that this is what they want us as fans or everybody to do. And they do it. And again, I'm not faulting them for doing this. I will not fault. I think this is a good thing, TM, a good thing, TM. They do it because of Kleenex and other trademark names that got so watered down to become ubiquitous to what this is. Not from the company's point of view, but the company doesn't want other companies to glom onto their name. Oh, Legos now include Mega Block and Build the Rule and all the tens of other jackass companies out there that just rip off Lego. See, that's also what gets my hackles into that, is those other guys who just, they couldn't come up with their own thing. They had to rip off the best. Okay, so I am a massively huge fan of this company, as you can tell. But I will not, and I will go to my deathbed for this, I will not adhere to their naming convention because they tell me to adhere to it. They are not the law. They are not, it's not written into our Canadian charts of freedoms and rights that we have to call these things Lego bricks. I was 4 or 5 or 6 years old playing with Legos. I've said that a million times. And to some people, that's a cringe-worthy statement that only newbies to the hobby say. I've had this hobby for almost 60 years, and I will call them whatever the beep I want to call them. It's my hobby. It's not the Lego hobby. It's my hobby with Lego. So if I wanted to rename my Dodge Caravan to Dave's Mighty Ride TM, the Dodge Motor Company is not going to come to me and say, no, you have to call it a Dodge Caravan. They're not going to do that. The Dodge Motor Company will not tell me what I can call my car. I bought it. It's my car. I bought this. It's mine. You pedantic pinheads can go screw yourself. There's no way. Oh, only newbies do that. 50, 60 years of playing with this hobby, by the way. And I will sometimes say Lego bricks because I want to say Lego bricks. If I'm in a particularly jaunty mood and I want to say Lego bricks, I have a huge Lego brick collection. Fine. But if I have a huge Lego collection, fine. If I have a huge Legos collection, doesn't make any sense. But if I'm going to go play with my Legos now, or I'm going to play with my Lego bricks now, I'm going to play with my Lego sets now, I will not kowtow, push my way of doing this. And again, that pisses some of my friends off because they want to adhere. They want to adhere to this. And I say, all the power to you. You adhere to this to the cows come home. And I'm going to support you. I'm actually going to absolutely 100% support you on that. If you want to continue always saying Lego bricks, I love you for that. Absolutely adore you for that. But do not post on Facebook that only newbies say Legos. And we as the elders of this hobby have to tell them that, oh, the Lego company wants us to say Lego bricks and therefore we should say Lego bricks. No, absolutely not. Not by any stretch, not by any means, no, absolutely not. And here's me. When I say I have Legos in this room, I have Legos in this room. They're all 100% store-bought. I didn't buy them as used ones. Lego bricks. I sort through every used lot that I get, and I remove all the non-Lego bricks because I want to make stuff that promote the company as and I think I'm a value-added service to that, even though I don't do it to promote the company. It's my hobby. But I think overall, I think I'm okay. I'm not as great as most of my friends who really get right into this stuff. But I think in the past 50 plus years, I'm an adult fan of Lego. AFOL doesn't say AFOLB, by the way. Just giving you guys, all you pedantic jackasses, I'm an AFOL. I don't hear you telling us that we have to change it to AFOLB. I've never heard that from you guys, all you pedantic, like, word police. I am an AFOL. I'm an adult fan of Lego. not an adult fan of Lego bricks. I know. I just read that, and it just showed me, us elders of this as the hobby must. Anybody who says that Legos is just a newbie and it has to be trained properly, go away, get out of my face. No, there's none. There's absolutely. And again, if you want to call them Lego bricks, I want you to call them Lego bricks. If you want to say all that stuff, and you want to adhere to the rote and repetition here because you think it's good for your relationship to the company, I love you for it. Do not ever come to me and say that I'm doing this wrong, because that's what that post said. That's exactly what that post inferred, as I'm doing it wrong. And I'm gonna tell you, go screw yourself. there's no person on this planet at all, besides my wife, there's no person on this planet at all that can come to me and say I'm doing this hobby wrong. Nobody. No, you can't. You don't have the authority. You don't have the sense. You don't have the justice to say that I and other people who want to use the word Legos is doing this wrong. This doesn't even say I'm doing this wrong, because that's a legal thing. This is just, hey guys, I mean, we want you to do this, and I support them for making this, and I'm glad they made this, and I'm glad they tried to adhere to that. But trying to force somebody to do that, I'm not interested. I am really not interested. I don't need that kind of pedantry in my life. I don't, and I don't want to read it. I don't want to read it. So anywho, I'm calmed down now. But again, so I talked about the stereo stuff because this comes up literally every generation, every 10 years. I've had this exact same discussion for the last 40 years. I've had it. I've had it that somebody comes up, oh, it's Lego bricks. Yeah, to you. and again, in a technical term, this is the Lego brick. It's a brick, and it's made by the Lego company. And every other piece in here is a Lego brick, because it's a brick made by the Lego company. There's no mega block here. There's no build the rule here. There's none of that other crappy, again, that's a whole other terror. Because if you're a second, this quick tangent. So the Ford Motor Company made the car a viable thing for machine line assembly, high production capacity, instead of making one car at a time. And other people glommed onto that, and they made cars too. They didn't call them Fords, and they made them different. They could not make their cars the same as the Ford Motor Company car. They had to make a different car. That's what they should have done. So when I look at this piece here in my collection, every 4x6 plate in my room right now has Lego printed on every stud, every one of them. And then some other company like Mega Block and all those Mega Construction, now whatever I call them, whatever the idiots want to call themselves now, build a roll, and they make a 4x6 plate that's identical to this one. That is not cricket to me. It's absolutely wrong. And this is why the Lego company had to put that out, because they don't want, because now anybody can put Kleenex on their tissues, even though Kleenex was a brand name back in the day, and they didn't bother sending the legal department after other companies who are also producing Kleenexes instead of just tissues. And so everything's called Kleenex now. Right? And so the name got diluted enough that it was no longer associated with the company that was making them. And so I appreciate the Lego company trying to keep their brand name intact 100%. And so and so for me, the focus should be not telling the hobbyist what they should be calling Lego. So the way they should be calling Lego bricks specifically, and like a 12-page essay about specific how you're supposed to use it and whatever. But they should be, and they are, and I already know, so I'm happy for them. They are going after other companies who right now have the sets that the Lego company is producing today. They have them on the market before the Lego company has theirs on the market. It's exactly the same set with exactly the same box, the exact same pictures, exact same instructions, exactly the same, literally everything, except they changed the logo. Instead of saying Lego in the upper left-hand corner or right-hand corner like that, they have whatever Tente or whatever they are now. because China's are a whole bunch of idiots over there. They don't care about corporate law and stuff like that. And so I'm 100% on board with the company making sure that this set doesn't get released with another company name and Lego doesn't see any money for it. That's where, and I believe it is overall, where their focus should be, instead of making me a almost 6 decade long fan who I think, again, value added service, even though I'm not here to make a value added service for them, but I think what we do as fans and shows and a lot of stuff is a value added service for them. Make sure other companies aren't glomming on. And I guess the cat is out of the bag, which again annoys me to no end, that other companies can make a 4x6 plate like this, and the Lego company can't do a thing about it, right? It was, to go off on these tangents, to wrap this up and hopefully have some sort of semblance, whatever. Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse is now public domain because it's expired. I think it was 75 years, something like that. 75 years. This piece did not exist 75 years ago, and yet other companies are allowed to make that. So how did Disney, because they got $1 billion in the legal department to make sure nobody could steal their trademark works, how is Disney able to keep other companies from glomming off Steamboat Mickey for all those years until finally it is now public domain officially, and the Lego company was unable to stop other companies from ripping them off far before 75 years. That to me is the true injustice of this entire discussion. It's the true injustice. Telling me that I'm saying it wrong, go screw yourself. Absolutely go screw yourself. Telling other companies that they can't make this piece for 75 years after Lego, and I can guarantee you 75 years, I don't know what that is, 1950 something. There's no way that this piece has been around since before 1950. There's no way. There's zero way that this piece was around before 1950. I don't know when the 4x, like the basic brick, but even in the basic brick in its current state, was not around in 1950. 1947, they had little notches in them, if I remember correctly. I'd have to look it up, but that's the if we were to adhere to the Mickey Mouse standard, there's not a company on the planet that can make this piece besides Lego. And yet they are. That to me is the injustice. That's where I get my hackles in the knot. That's where I think, damn you Mega Blocks, damn you Tenet, or Tente, whatever. Damn you all you stupid I was going to swear. All you stupid jackass companies that should be run out of the rail. We should close, we put locks on your door and stop you from producing, period. You have gone against. Mickey Mouse wasn't able to be touched until this year at all, and they got and it just drives me nuts that Lego got screwed over all these years by all those judges who said, oh yeah, it's just this is a commonplace thing. Well, so is Mickey Mouse drawing. If Mickey Mouse drawing can be copyrighted for 75 years and nobody could touch it for 75 years, this piece that Lego came up with on their own, this piece right here, nobody else was making them back in 1955 or 60 or 65. There was no other company making these. So there's no effing way that other companies can say, oh, it's public domain and we're going to rip them off. That to me is the ultimate injustice of this entire thing. So getting on me about me saying Legos, my Lego collection. I love my Legos. I love building on my Legos. I have a Lego layout. Well, that's more adjective. But you know what I'm saying? Coming at me and saying that I'm not responsible enough, or I'm not, I'm a newbie because I'm using the word Legos. I have no patience for fans who do that to other fans. I have none. I have zero, as you can see, I'm passionate about it right now. I have absolutely no consideration for fans who do that type of gatekeeping and completely ignore the actual legitimate problem that we have right now. And there's no way of fixing that now because they've been doing it for 30 years now. Well under the 75-year mark. That's what drives me crazy. And also people gatekeeping, saying that only true fans use Lego bricks in conversations. Yeah, no. I will use whatever I want in conversations. As long as I am projecting my appreciation of the company, of the brand, of the pieces, of the parts. I'm not using them in a malicious or negligent or malcontentious way. And I'm conveying the fun stuff that I've been doing. I've been doing videos for 15 years about how fantastically awesome this hobby is. Come at me, bro. Honestly, God, come at me. And again, on that specific note, you do you. And if you want to make sure that it's Lego bricks for you, if you invite me to your YouTube stream and I'm talking about it, and you want me to use Lego bricks on your YouTube stream, I'm going to say Lego bricks. I'm going to, because that's your playground. That's your section of the hobby. 100%. I'm going to sign off on that. But in my room and my hobby, and when I'm doing stuff down here, I'm going to say whatever I want, whatever crosses my mind at the time when I'm talking, because most of the time I just talk blah, 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 oh, Legos, blah, 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 Lego bricks. I've said both numerous times, and I don't think about it, and I don't want to think about it, because that to me is irrelevant to my appreciation of the hobby. If you want your appreciation of the hobby to reflect that it must be Lego bricks at all times, have at it. It doesn't matter to me. I do read this. Again, I've read it numerous times. It's a little dog horn. I got this, by the way, because, again, the legal company came after me. The legal department came after me in 1986 and 1987. Because, again, I do agree with them on this one, and 100%. Because we made a movie, and you can see it in my YouTube channel, called Lego Wars. And so we used the term Lego Wars, Lego, right in the title of the movie. And the lead protagonist was called Lego Man. And the opening credits was the beginning of their commercials from the 1980s, where you see the word Lego and you see the 5 bricks click into the side of it. I did it all with CGI in my Commodore 64. And I use the term, it's a new toy every day. Copyrighted TM by the Lego company. They're trademarked. 100% on video. Wrong of me to do that. Of course, I was 16 at the time, 51. I didn't know about trademark law at the time. And so them coming after me for that, 100% legitimate. And I would 100% support them on that. This is exactly what I'm saying for Mega Blocks and all that stuff, ripping off these companies. I was wrong, and I ate it. I absolutely sent an apology letter, and I even said that yes, these are. I never said they weren't, but I said these are your trademarks, and I should not have used them, and I will not be using this video for commercial purposes, which is what they wanted, and I gave it to them, 100%. Whatever they said, but they also said, they sent me this. But this was not part of the issue that the Lego company had with me. This was the fact that this is why they protect a trademark, because they don't want it to be watered down like Kleenexes, as I said. So I kept this since 1987. This one actually one says back here, I got it in 1986, 87. This was 1981 and 1984, the Lego Group. The Lego Group, not the Lego Company, TLC. This is TLG. Printed in Denmark by Core Offset. Not good for them. Lego, Legoland, and Fabuland, and Duplo logo are registered trademarks. I love Fabuland. I don't have much Fabuland, but I love Fabuland. The other one I got was this guy at the same time, because again, they're happy with me because I was, in my way, I was promoting their brand. I shouldn't have used, and I shouldn't have. I used their trademarks on video. This stuff here reminds me that when I used to be part of the Canadian Lego fan club, because every time you bought a set from Samsonite Canada, it came with that mail-in letter that said, hey, become part of the Lego fan club. And they sent you, when you signed up with, I can't remember, $5, $10, they sent you an iron-on, the Lego iron-on, so I did that. And then you got a newsletter every bi-monthly or whatever it was. And they would have competitions, build something, build this, build that, whatever. And people would send in pictures. And all this stuff looks like those things that you would see in that magazine that came once every 2 months to your door. This is basically, this whole thing is basically the world of Lego toys, kind of in a 6-page brochure. Kind of neat stuff. Nothing too, except for this guy down here, which again I always wanted, and now I can, because I got my friends out there, Evan and stuff. I did have a card. Oh, I think I still have a card. And I still have the control unit box, how it's made. And what was it? This one? There's. I love this company, honest God. And again, I don't want to be unclear about that. I adore this company and everything about them, or how over the years how they conduct their affairs. That's my way of saying it. And I support them almost 100% because they show themselves to be class acts. Again, there's people who differ opinions, and again, I agree with my friends too that have had bad run-ins with Lego because it's a corporation. So I mean, I don't worship it. And again, I remember buying that set. It's a fantastic set. This thing is so dog worn now. It's actually pretty funny. Fabuland. Let's look at this back piece, just because we're talking about it now. There's some guy that started a company. Some guy. We knew a guy. I think I missed out on a whole bunch of those things, but whatever. I got gear sets, the 1002 or whatever. These are the different gear sets that I think they also use for Fabuland tables. The train I got. I don't have any original sets, but I have some original pieces, and those pieces are, I have them out. There they are, way up there, hiding. And I think Janie gave them to me. I mentioned this a few times, so when I find really nostalgic pieces, I just put them on top of my old garage. But this is the original brick that would be coming off basically copyright right now. And so this is, if the other company, clone brands, wanted to make this legally, this is the piece they could make. Other than that, go screw yourself. So anywho, so that's what I got. So I don't have any of these original. My buddy Gary has a whole brochure on that. And then I get the Duplos and the wooden cars, which I do not have. I got some wooden blocks. I got 4 wooden blocks. And they say Lego right on them. Yay. Kind of cool. I got 4 out of the whole set. And then the first supercar, which I just to this day, I remember getting the comic books. I've mentioned this before. We go on the long trips up to Perry Sound or Tobermory, and Mom would always buy me an Archie comic or Wendy the Teenage Witch comic or whatever, Little Witch. And on the back cover for a couple months was the Technic sets that were coming out that year, 1977. I was 10. And I remember just wanting that set, and I got the go-kart instead. And of course, the go-kart has taken a life of its own with me, which is fine. I got that castle. More wooden toys. I got, and I don't want to use the word obscene amount of gray tires and white 2x4 wheel bricks. I don't want to use that word obscene. But I do. And of course, the gray goes. It gets really, 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 really hard. And it gets, because it just like the gray bricks, it starts going yellow. But I have some really mint gray tires too. So if you want to restore a set that required gray tires, I have some original gray tires that are actually good. I did not get the little ambulance. I got the shell truck and I got the police car 600. The first year minifigs were out. My mom got me those little tiny boxes, and I have those original because they are sticker torsos for the first year, and just like my 918, which I believe was a sticker torso, fantastic. But I did not get the ambulance. This fire truck I didn't bother getting because the light and sounds that I did get were all space, the X1 and the other ones. The rattle, I have this set now. I of course did not buy it. I didn't buy a lot of train sets before. Fabuland. The Technic big minifigs, the big figs that came in the Arctic sets and whatever, they're always cool. And I just showed you that I have 1 or 2 pieces of those with the slot in the side. And then Duplo, I actually got rid of 4 totes of Duplo at his house a few years back. I put it on Marketplace, and somebody, Mom wanted them for her kids. I just dropped them off at her house in the West End, Hamilton. And wait for it. Right there. Anyway, My love and appreciation of this company is very, very high. It's not 100%. Nothing besides my wife and my kid is 100%. That's the way it is. And that's the way it's going to be. Because I have to live with myself. I have to live within my own parameters of what I think is appropriate and what's not appropriate and what I think is just. And one of the things my mom told me, even when I was very, very young, is that I, for whatever reason, have a huge overactive sense of justice. I really do. And justice in not necessarily relegated to legal justice, but overall societal justice. Because again, I also got into this conversation with somebody else. There's legal justice, which I think is important, but there are certain things in legal justice that when you apply it to society itself, like jaywalking, like straight up jaywalking is against the law. It's illegal in many, many places. I'm not sure if it's illegal in your area, your mileage may vary, but it's illegal to jaywalk, which means that you come out of your building and you have to get to the other side because there's a store over there. You just walk across the street. That's jaywalking. That's illegal. I don't care. If I get hit by a car jaywalking, it's 100% my fault. I'm willing to take that risk, but I'm very, very good at not getting hit by cars when I walk across the road. So, but should I get hit, I'm not going to blame the world and my laws because I ignored a law and it's my fault for taking the chance in my head. But what I think is actual true justice overall is most of the laws we have when it comes to us maintaining a societal cohesiveness and appreciation of one another. And stuff that's not enshrined into law, like being nice to one another and trying to be a good and decent person in society. Because and again, I talked about this a long time ago. There's moral tenets, moral commands, moral edicts that all of us should follow, and there's moral, for crying out loud, virtues, which are different than moral edicts. And the example I would give is it's a moral imperative that we don't litter. It is. I think it should be for everybody, but I believe fundamentally that littering is wrong, period. I can't think of a single time when littering is not wrong. And so littering is a moral imperative for us to adhere to. I'm not saying it should be illegal to litter, although it is in some places. I mean, you see that sign on the side of the highway, littering is $5,000 if you get caught. So it is illegal, but it's a moral duty, a moral imperative for us not to litter. A moral virtue is picking up any litter you see. So if you're walking on the road and you see a piece of litter on the ground and you don't pick it up, I do not believe you're being immoral. It's an amoral action. It's neither moral nor immoral. You're just not picking up litter because I don't think it's a moral imperative to pick up litter. It's a moral imperative not to litter, and that therein, for me, lies all the difference in the universe. And so people say, oh, but if we put all these moral impetuses in everybody. I'm not saying putting moral impetuses in everybody. I'm saying, how hard is it for you not to litter? Seriously, how hard is it not to litter? It's like not doing something. How hard is it not to do something? It's the easiest thing in the world. Don't get out of your chair. Okay. It's the same thing. It's honestly the same thing. It's hard. Here's the issue. People find it easy to litter because they can't walk 10 extra feet down to where the garbage can is or bring it home and put it in your garbage at home. So I understand that it's more, quote unquote, more effort not to litter than it is to litter. But again, if everybody followed that kind of idea, the whole world would be a junkyard, straight up. So for me, the moral imperative is not to litter. The moral virtue is to pick up the litter you see. And again, I sometimes we'll pick up litter. I'm walking down the street and there's a piece of litter and there's a trash can. I'll pick up the litter and I'll throw it in the trash can. This happens especially at work, by the way, because I walk into the bathroom after some people leave the bathroom and the paper towels are ripped up in little tiny squares because they're trying to pull it out of the dispenser and then getting little squares and they just drop them on the ground. I'm going, really? Like, so you got the paper dispenser and right below it is the trash can. Like right below it is the trash can. So I never, in my life, I've never seemed to have a problem with this where I'm getting paper towels out of the paper dispenser to grab a whole sheet without it completely ripped. And people, oh, but my hands are wet. Even when my hands are wet, I don't seem to get that. I don't know how these guys are completely screwing it up. But anyway, I'll find all these little corners of paper and pieces on the floor, all around the trash can, not in the trash can. And I'm going, and I will stoop down with another paper towel that I have in my hand because I don't want to touch it. So I'll pick up and I'll put it in the cat and then I'll go wash my hands again. So it's what I do. It's my little way of making the world just a little better, a little tiny bit better. There's no garbage on the floor, and to me that's morally virtuous. But not everybody has to do it, and not everybody can do it, and not everybody notices it the way I do. And again, so I accept that as a starting position, that sometimes Sandy notices a lot of stuff that I don't notice, and I notice a lot of stuff that she doesn't notice. People notice different things. People have different criteria with their blinders, and people have a different criteria of what they actually want to see or what they see. I walk into that bathroom and I see all the very first thing I see is those things on the floor. I don't know why. My eyes are drawn to it now, and so I will pick it up. And it's not every day, and I don't know who's doing it. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me, but I will pick them up every time that I see them. And so I think that's a moral virtuous act, and I'm not faulting anybody who walked out the door before I walked in that they didn't see it and they didn't fix it, because it's not their job. It's not my job. I'll put a little extra effort into it. And so there's a huge difference between moral imperatives and moral duty to society that you live in and moral virtues. 100%. There's a huge difference. And therein lies the nuance of life. Therein lies all the difference in the world. It's moral, for me, as we're going to bring it back, it's a moral imperative that if you say Legos, or capital Legos, or Lego bricks, or Legos, and you call them Legos, and they're not Legos, you're wrong. Straight up, you're wrong. Stop. I go on Facebook all the time, Marketplace all the time. Hey, there's a big lot of Legos for sale. And I open up the ad, and the very first picture I see is all those stupid, idiotic base plates from Mega Blocks when they made all those castles a few years back, or the whole of the boat and it looks like crap. And you know it's not Lego. I know it's not Lego. So this is another little tangent. I've already gone 47 minutes on this thing. My brother's older than me. He got Lego before I did. See, I said Lego. He got Lego before I did, because I wasn't born yet. But when I was born, he was still getting Lego. And so he was a neat freak, and he was very, very regimented in his, detailing of things and whatever. And things had to be, I won't say precise, but back when we were kids, I was the messy child and he wasn't. And so when we had combined Lego sets in a box, a big one cardboard box, he'd want it to be, more structured, because he wanted to build this piece, so you need to know where all the pieces are. He's the one that started me on this road of sorting. But when we were kids, we didn't sort. Everything was in the big cardboard box, and he knew what Lego was. Of course, back then in 1972, that's all there was on the market that was like this. There was, I mentioned this before, we had my earliest memories is those little red soft plastic. They came in 1x2, if you want to call them that. They had square studs on top, and they fit, and they looked like they were rough wood. I can't remember what they were called. And they were about the size, 1/3 the size of a 2x4, 2/3 the size of a 2x4 brick, except they were taller, and they came with 1x1 roof cheese slopes, basically. And I remember very, very vague recollections of 4 and 5 that we had those in the house. But they didn't last long, because if you put any force on them, they would compress and they would bend and they would get white, because they would bend bad. And of course I was hard on everything back then. But I couldn't break Lego until I got older. But anyway, so we had Lego. So Brian, my brother, knows what Legos are. And you know, when you walk into a store and the box says Legos on it. So, or Lego, whatever on it. And so when my Josh had a birthday years ago, when he was 4 or 5 or 6, his cousins, my brother's kids, got him a Lego set. Except it wasn't a Lego set. It was a Mega Block set. And I'm going, this is a man who was one of the most, I won't say pedantic, but one of those precise people I've ever met, who introduced me to Star Trek, introduced me to Supertramp, obviously introduced me to Lego, all the stuff I knew and love, and the stuff we've been talking about for the last 56 years of my life, all the stuff that we've geek out over. And here comes into my house, Josh unwraps a gift, and it's Mega Block. And it's like, huh, oh, I didn't realize it wasn't Lego. To what about who? You, my brother, who we went into the minutiae. This is my brother. We went in, and this is back in 1978, pre-internet. We had an hour-long discussion. My brother and I, we had a lot of stuff back then. But what the T stood for in James T. Kirk, we had a huge discussion about that kind of minutiae of the and how it fit in, and how even in Where No Man Has Gone Before, the gravestone said James R. Kirk. So this is a guy who notices like literally everything. We had discussions about this, and we would have deep philosophical conversations, even as teenagers, talk about the empath and stuff like that, and love Battlestar Galactica and talk about the nuance of that and blah, blah. We would get into all this, and he was observant. He was a guy who remembered everything. He was a guy that would yell at the TV set when hockey games were on, because the ref was the ref that he, 5 games before, was the ref that did the last game that didn't call good plays and whatever. That Hood guy, he called bad plays 7 games ago against, the Atlanta Flames. Atlanta Flames, I had to think about that for a sec, because it's been a long time since I think about old hockey teams. Like, he would have that kind of recollection about the most other people will consider trivial, but I think this is good stuff. Like, and then he shows up at the door with a set for Josh, and it's Mega Block or Mega Construction. I mean, we still built it, but it's not here. It's not in this room. It's not in the house anymore, but it's not in this room. So I make that point of demarcation. I will always make that point of demarcation. When I say Legos, I mean Legos made by this company right here. When I say Legos, I'm talking about these guys. This company. This company right here, where it says Lego. When I say my Lego collection, my Legos, my Lego